Before we continue, if you are listening, help me prove something wrong. My colleagues at my 9-to-5 job said I would never get subscribers. I believe documentaries and histories like this should be made viral. Help me show them this videos matters. Thanks.
June 21st, 1582. Honnoji Temple, Kyoto. A black samurai fights alone against hundreds of enemy warriors. He's defending his fallen lord's honor. This shouldn't be possible. Black people weren't supposed to be in Japan. Slaves weren't supposed to become samurai. But Yasuke was never supposed to exist. But Yasuke's story doesn't start in Japan. It starts in Africa, probably Mozambique, around 1556. His real name is lost to history. Yasuke is what the Japanese called him. Then the Portuguese arrived. Portuguese slave traders were raiding the East African coast, capturing people to sell across their empire. Yasuke was one of thousands. His life as a free man was over. Yasuke was taken to Goa, India, center of the Portuguese Empire in Asia. There, he was given as a gift to an Italian Jesuit missionary named Alessandro Valignano, as property, as a curiosity. But Valignano was different. He treated Yasuke relatively well, even educated him. In 1579, Valignano decided to travel to Japan as a missionary. Yasuke went with him. Neither of them could have predicted what would happen when they arrived. When Yasuke arrived in Nagasaki, then traveled to Kyoto in 1581, he caused a sensation. Most Japanese people had never seen a black person before. Thousands gathered just to see him. Some thought he was a demon. Others thought he might be a god. The crowd became so large and frenzied that people were injured in the crush. Local authorities had to intervene, but word of the black giant had already spread. And it reached the most powerful man in Japan. Ōta Nobunaga was not a typical daimyo. He was a brilliant, ruthless, innovative warlord who was unifying Japan through military conquest. He was also curious, open to foreign ideas, and fascinated by the strange and unusual. Yasuke was all of that. Nobunaga had heard the rumors but didn't quite believe them. He ordered Yasuke to strip to the waist. He had servants try to wash the black skin off, thinking it might be ink or paint. When it didn't come off, Nobunaga was delighted. What happened next was unprecedented. Nobunaga freed Yasuke from slavery. He gave him a stipend, a house, and a sword. He made him a samurai, one of the warrior elite. Yasuke became part of Nobunaga's personal retinue. Yasuke had to prove himself. Being made a samurai by decree was one thing. Earning the respect of actual samurai warriors was another. He trained intensely, learning Japanese sword techniques, language, and culture. Within months, Yasuke was fluent enough in Japanese to converse. He was skilled enough to fight alongside Nobunaga's best warriors. And he had earned enough respect that even skeptical samurai acknowledged him. But the real test came on the battlefield. Between 1581 and 1582, Yasuke fought in multiple battles alongside Nobunaga. He wasn't just ceremonial, he was a real combat samurai. And he was good. Historical records mention Yasuke by name multiple times. He's described as being in Nobunaga's presence constantly, trusted as a weapon bearer, one of the highest honors. He owned property. He had status. For a man who'd been a slave just years earlier, he'd achieved the impossible. June 21st, 1582. Nobunaga was staying at Honnoji Temple in Kyoto with a small force. Only about 30 samurai and 200 pages and servants. Yasuke was with him. They didn't know that one of Nobunaga's own generals, Akechi Mitsuhide, was marching on the temple with 13,000 soldiers. This was a coup. Nobunaga realized immediately it was a coup. He was trapped with only 30 samurai against thousands. He ordered his men to defend the temple while he prepared to commit seppuku, ritual suicide. It was the honorable way for a samurai lord to die. But his men, including Yasuke, had to buy him time. What followed was one of the most legendary last stands in Japanese history. 30 samurai against 13,000. They fought knowing they couldn't win. They fought to buy their lord time to die with honor. Inside the temple, Nobunaga committed seppuku. His death was honorable. Outside, Yasuke and the surviving samurai continued fighting. Eventually, Nobunaga's heir, Oda Nobunaga, ordered them to retreat to Nijo Castle to continue the defense there. At Nijo Castle, Yasuke fought alongside Nobunaga, but the end was inevitable. Nobunaga also committed seppuku, and finally, Yasuke was captured. But something strange happened. They didn't kill him. Yasuke was returned to the Jesuits, and then, nothing. He vanishes from historical records completely. Some say he lived out his days in Japan. Some say he escaped back to Africa. Some say he died fighting. Nobody knows for certain. For 400 years, Yasuke was barely mentioned in Japanese history. Some historians claimed he was just a servant who carried Nobunaga's stuff. Others said he wasn't real at all. But the historical records prove he existed. He was named. He fought. He was there.